Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar on how to automate your data collection. We are going to start in a minute. In the meantime, let me introduce myself. My name is Itamar Abramovich. I'm Director of Product Management at Luminati, and I'm also in charge of the product called Data Collector, which we are going to discuss today. During this presentation, feel free to stop us and ask questions. When you have a question, use the button Raise Hand to ask questions during live stream. We will open your mic. Another option is to type in the Q&A section if you want us to read your question and answer it. Let me explain what we're going to do today. We'll start with explaining what it takes to build fully automated data collector by your own. Then we'll show how you can use pre-built data collectors from our library that cover most of the popular websites. Then we will move to the most interesting part. We will explain and demonstrate how to build your own custom data collector using Luminati Chrome extension. At last, my colleague Josh will show how to enhance the custom collector that we already built with Luminati Code Editor. I want to bring to your attention something that seems very unfair to me. According to IDC study, data professionals spend 60% of their time getting the data, but just 27% of it will be spent on actual analysis. Here in Luminati, we believe the data should be utility, accessible to everyone. And any data professional should be able to collect the data in a clean and structured way. So most of his time will be spent on reaching insight, and that will bring his company or product competitive advantage. The key challenges for all data collection operation are, so first of all, we see that nowadays to collect data in scale is a resource-heavy operation. And by that, I mean not only expensive infrastructure like servers and IP proxy networks, but also manpowers, developers, DevOps, QA, etc. Challenging scalability. So let's say you manage to build your own crawler on an infrastructure that works perfect with your target site. Will it still work when you scale up? What will it take to maintain thousands of parallel requests? The third thing is about ever-changing data structure. Because sites keep changing their appearance, structure, and how users interact with them, it means that your developers should constantly improve your crawlers. The last and the most important thing is about blocking issue. Nowadays, sites use more and more sophisticated bot detection system and unblocking to make sure that you will not be able to even see the site. Such anti-blocking mechanism can take weeks to develop. That's why requirements for building successful data collection process are growing every day. First of all, you need solid IP's proxy infrastructure that has to have verify of IP types, large IP pools, and presence in every geographical region you are interested in. Scalability and accuracy of your data collection depend on this layer. The second layer is having software tools that can decipher bot detection techniques and unblock your target site. This is what makes automated data collection possible. And the last thing, only after that come crawlers that can be simple and interactive, collect structured or unstructured data. Now, building data collection process in-house can give you the utmost competitive advantage because of the unique and proprietary data that enable you to collect. But as I explained earlier, this is a very resources-heavy process. Data Collector, the product that I'm going to introduce you in a minute, integrate and automated all of the stage of data collection for you, but leave you in full control of the data that you collect. Our first practice will be collect data with pre-built template that you can find in your control panel within your Luminati account. If you didn't sign up yet, we can do it after this presentation. We have more than 100 templates for popular use cases, but for the sake of this demo, we will narrow it to just 3. Please go ahead and choose the template that you want us to demo on. Guys, please feel free to choose the target website that you want us to demonstrate on.
I think everyone has voted.
Great, I'm not seeing the result. Yeah, now I can see that. Great. So most of you chose Twitter, so let's start with that. Great. So all that you need to do is just go to the Luminati account, to your Luminati account, and click on the data collector. Here you can click on Add Collector, and then choose the kind of collector that you want to work on. So in this case, let's choose Twitter profile. When you do this, you can see the overview, meaning what this collector is like really doing. You can check an input, in this case, this input, but you can check whatever input that you want to check, and also check for output examples, API, and source code. Before we continue, I just want to move you to the bigger screen, just a sec. Great. I hope that everyone can see my screen now. Anna?
Yes.
Great. Thanks.
Go ahead.
So in this case, I would like to check Twitter profile. So I'm just clicking test now, and it will check for this account. As you can see here, I got in JSON all of the data that I got on this specific account. So I can see in this case post, profile background image, profile image URL, name, etc. Also, by the way, if this is verified account alone, meaning if it's an influencer or not. So you can see all of the data here. If you want, you can enlarge and see more. In this case, you can see even post, the recent post. And you can see also that this kind of collector has been changed or modified in the last 6 days. Now I'm clicking next, and now I'm getting into the part that I need to check what is the format that I want to do. So in this case, that I want to get started. So in this case, I'm choosing JSON. I can choose CSV. If I'm choosing a CSV, we have another option that is called flatten CSV. It will just make more columns for the CSV. You can test it. But in this case, I will just choose JSON to be simple. And delivery method is how I want to get the data. So when we are doing a demo, email is good enough. But when you want to integrate it into your own system, we'll need to use Webhook, Amazon S3, Google Cloud Storage, or SFTP. Now, only for Amazon S3, Google Cloud Storage, or SFTP, you can choose these two options. So it's mostly, we invented it mostly for the travel industry, but you can use it for any other. So in this case, we have the delivery screenshot of the collected page, meaning that we'll take a screenshot for everything that we'll collect, or the HTML itself, meaning that it doesn't really matter if you use JSON or CSV, it will be accompanied with this thing or both. After we are choosing the specific way that you want to get the data, meaning the delivery method, we can also check the notification method, meaning how do I want to get to know if something happened or if I got an error for a specific item. So in this case, I can choose a webhook, and let's say Amazon, meaning that the data will be stored in Amazon S3, but I get into the webhook all of the report and the progress about what is going on. So after we choose this relevant part, we need to choose if we want to work with an API or with a schedule. Most of our customers are working with an API because they want their system to control the way that we are using the collector here. Sorry, but if you want to work in a schedule, all you need to do is just click here, choose how many times you want it to work. So in this case, I want it to work for 3 repeats. And every repeat will be for 1 day. So, and it will be in this hour, of course. So after choosing this, I will click next, and it will ask me to choose the input because I need to edit before doing it. But in this case, because we want to make it as simple as possible, and that it will most of you will work in with this section, with this part, with an API. So we'll choose this, and I'm saving the collector. So now we are on the summary page, and in the summary page, we can see everything that we now just checked. So I can see here that I'm using Twitter, and the format is JSON. The delivery method will be email, and I will use the notification, and the notification in this case is none. Now, if I want to start it, I just need to copy this thing. In this case, you can see that it's we're using a care request, and we have some kind of a way to identify. It's like a password, it's a token that will make sure that only you will be able to use this collector. More about how to use that, it's in the account setting page. But in this case, you see that this is the token, it's part of this. And by the way, if I want to add more data to it, I just need to copy this request. And here you can see that this is the first request, and this is the second request. So in this case, I've got 2 requests, and I hopefully will send 1,000 or more than 1,000 millions of requests in parallel, and we will handle them simultaneously. Now, because I want to test it now, all I need to do is just test the collector. I'm clicking collect now, and here you can see the same test that we saw before, but it did it like really now. So it's super easy to see, and the only thing that you now need to do is just use this request in order to integrate it into your own system or crawler. So I guess we are done with this part. Let me share the other screen. Sorry about that, just a sec.
Itamar, there is a question from the audience. Who makes these templates, and how do they how do we ensure that they are updated? Can you answer that question?
Yeah, no problem. So let's start from the beginning. We will show you in a second how you can create your own collectors with the extension or with the ID. In the meantime, we're also creating collectors for our customers. So we have a form that you can just, hopefully I will be able to see to show it now. So let me just share my screen again. So when you're adding a collector, you can choose a collector that we already have. Or in other cases, if we don't have a collector for this, you can click request a custom collector. So fill up the form, 2 pages, it's supposed to be super easy, just a little bit, we need a little bit of context about what you want to get, what is the description of the collector, maybe files, a print screen of what you want to get exactly, and then the account manager will contact you back and tell you how much time it's going to take us to build. But today we're going to show you how you can develop your own collector, meaning that it's supposed to be super easy for you to create it with the browser extension. And then if you want to enhance it or just start from the beginning with our own custom collector, we called it an ID. It's an environment to code your own collector. You can click here and just create your own. Anna, did I answer the question correctly, or did I miss something?
Richard, did you get the answer for your? Yes. Once it's developed, when we run it like you showed. Once it's developed, then we run it like you showed. The question.
Yeah. So I'm reading the question now. Thanks. Mm-hmm. So first, once it's developed, you will get a notification about it. So then you can just click or search for the domain that you want to collect data from, and you will see it in your own control panel. And how do we ensure that this is updated? We'll answer it when we're going to show the next part of how can we check that, how we're building it, and also we'll speak a little bit on something that we call the sanity test in order to make sure that the data keep flowing into our own system. I'm seeing another question from Richard. Once you develop, then we run it like you showed. So yes, and not needing the extension after. No, you will not need the extension after. You will just need to use the API in order to consume the collector. Richard, did I answer the question? Yeah, okay, great. So we will continue with the Chrome extension demo. So today we're going to show you how we can collect data from eBay, in this case. So all I need to do first is just go to Luminati.io. And under solution, you'll see this data collector option. Scroll down a little bit. And here you will have a link to download the extension. Now, if you can't remember exactly, you can also go into the Chrome extension store, search for Luminati. You will see 2 extensions, choose the Luminati Data Collector and just install it. After you are installing it, you need to log in. So just click here. this icon and just log into your account. Again, if you don't have an account, you can register from here or from the website and then log in. Now there is something new with Chrome, so just make sure when you're doing it, you're tagging here, so this thing will not get lost. Now, let's go into the eBay, in this case. I'm searching for PlayStation. So now after I click this icon, you will see that I need to choose what kind of collector I want to use. So today it's an easy answer because we have only one, the simple one. The simple one is to submit a list of URL and get something in return. But we also have something in the ID, in our coding environment, that is search and discover. So just a phrase about what is each. Search is if you want to search something and you can determine what will be the URL for this search, maybe because there is some kind of, let's call it a text that you don't understand what it does, and you want to emulate a real user. And of course, Josh will speak about it when I'm done with this presentation. And also, we've got the discover. Discover is when we are going to do complex scrolling, when we want to get, for example, everything underneath a specific category. So in this case, I want to get everything under video games, so it will be under discover. So today, again, we will start with simple, and then we'll enhance it into be a search and maybe even discover. So in this case, again, I'm clicking on search and clicking next. After doing that, I need to choose what I want to get from here. So in this case, I'm choosing the title. So as you can see here, I determined that this is a link. This is something that I want to get. I'm seeing all of the links that we'll get. So I just need to give it a name. So let's call it title link. As you can see here, it took automatically all of the links from this page, and it's already colored it as something that I already tested. And also we got the text. So as you can see here, the first one is PlayStation 2, PS2 tested with memory card. As you can see everything here. Let's take the price also. So I'm just clicking here, writing price. As you can see here, I'm getting all of the prices. And the last thing, I want to get a picture. So in this case, I'm clicking again, collect. Picture. And I'm saying it here. Now, if I just want to make sure that I got everything, I can click here and see the table. And as I can see here, everything is fine. So this is the table view. But if you want to see it in a JSON, you can click here also. And you can see that under items, you can see the title link, the text, the price, and the picture. So I'm clicking create collector. This thing will automatically save it on my control panel. As you can see, I did a good job, and it's being created for eBay. So I can now trigger it for my control panel. So the only thing that I need to do is just click on collect more pages, and it will automatically redirect me to the control panel. Great. So before, when I've been here, this thing, the data that you saw here we took it from the front end. Now we are doing the same with the unblocker mechanism and everything that we have underneath the hood. So as you can see, it can take some time, and I'm collecting this data with a real IP from around the world. Hopefully, we'll see that soon.
In the meantime, we have a question from Alon. He's asking, when I do, for example, scraping to the list of employees from LinkedIn, do I get all the search results or just the first page?
When I do an example searching for list of employees from LinkedIn, do I get all the search results or just the first page? So it's really depends on the collector itself. We've got few collectors from LinkedIn. Maybe I will open it in the meantime. So we've got something that taking a job results. So you need to add all of the URLs for jobs. And I guess you mean more about a profile page, right, Alon? So when you're doing that, you can click on here, and then the input will be more than one. So just add all of the inputs that you want to get, all of the profiles, and in return, you will get all of the data. So again, after I'm creating this, you can see here in the end result that you can send more than one. So just send as much as you want, and you will get back all of the result in to the way that you want to get it. Alon is also asking about what about the company page. So it's almost the same. When you're clicking Get a Collector, you just need to use the company profile, and then again, just send the link to the company profile. It's exactly the same like user profile, but for company. And again, you will get all of the results for all of them in return, like that. Hopefully, I answer your question.
Let's go back to the...
Okay, it can take some time. In the meantime, we'll open it from another page. I saw an issue. So let me move to the next slide, and then we'll return to see what's happened. Maybe it can take some time.
There is a question from Tarek about the eBay example. He's asking, using this eBay example, are we able to collect not only prices, but selectively input countries, cities to check the shipping cost or of a particular listing?
Yeah, so great question, because we're going to show that in a second. So Josh will show you now how to take what we built with the extension and manage to, and how we are going to enhance it in order to select a specific country that we are going to send the request from, meaning that everything will get the data. So let's say that now, as you saw, I got something in Israeli shekels because I'm in Israel. But when Josh will do the enhancement, he will choose another country, and then we'll get the pricing in the specific currency of this country. Hopefully, I managed to answer the question.
And we have another question from Richard. For LinkedIn type sites, don't we need to log in? How do we handle logging in?
So the question was, again?
It's in the chat, you can read. It's in the chat.
Yeah, I can see the chat, so can you repeat it, please? For LinkedIn type site, we don't need to log in. Yeah, so it's something super important about logging in. So we're Luminati, we will only show public available data. Josh will speak about it in a second, but meaning that we will only show data that doesn't require the logging in. Hopefully I answered this question. So let's continue with the presentation.
You're not sharing your screen?
Yeah, I know, just a sec. Great. So as you can see here, by the way, this is like the LinkedIn collector that we just now used. So we can see all of the data that we got. So it's super easy to use. So let's continue to the next thing. Just trying to open it. Okay. So as you can see here, to build the data collector and to tag the data, you don't.
We see Josh instead of your screen. Josh van der Wilik.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. So as you can see, build custom data collector, you don't even need to know how to code. You can just need to tag the element that you want to get. But what happens if you want to do a search or you want to make the crawler more interactive? So this thing, you need to use the ID or the code environment. So my colleague Josh is going to show you how you can enhance the collector we just now built with the Luminati code editor. So just please.
Hi everyone, I'm Josh. We're going to take the collector that Itamar just defined in the ID or in the extension, and we're going to expand it into something that's more usable for whatever your use case happens to be.
Josh, before we start, can you please go into the to show them the data, because it took some time and now it's ready?
The data, yeah, sure.
Just click on.
Yep, so you can see the data collected here.
Great. And also, if you can please just move to the right a bit or enlarge it, so they will see the currency. When I did it, it was with Israeli shekel. And now, as you can see, it's in Europe currency, because I guess that it used some kind of country from Europe. And great, that's all. Thanks, Josh.
No worries. Okay, so what Itamar built here is a good starting point, but it might not be specifically what you want. So we have this button here. I'll go back and I can show it to you again. There's this button here, Edit Template, and you can use this to open up the code editor and actually see the crawler that our system defined for you. And if the crawler isn't what you want it to be, then you can change it. So for example, if you don't want the crawler to pick random countries, then you can add this country command, country, US at the top. And now the crawler will only use US. You can see this in the help box for this. We list the country command. And you can use any country code you like. Our proxy network supports basically every country in the world. So now we can take this example page and we can run a preview. And you should see that the data that comes back is now in American dollars. So you can see now the price has dollars. So what we'll do to start is you can see that this collector will collect one search page of results. But if you want to collect all the search pages, let's open up this page in another browser tab. If we want to collect all the search pages, then we can basically turn this into a multi-stage crawler. So let's take this first crawler stage and let's name it change the name from ebay.com to find pages. And right now we're trying to tag the title and the price and the picture. But in this case, we actually don't want that. What we want is the list of search pages. So we'll change this first step. We'll click the modify an extension button. It will open this page in the extension and we can change what data is being tagged. So let's delete this. Let's make it split screen just for visibility. Okay, so as we change the tags here, you can see that the parser code defined in the extension will also update with you. So in our case, let's tag the search pages. We'll call them search pages. And then we'll change this code from what we have here to for page of parse.search pages. Collect URL page. So now instead of collecting all of the listings on the page, we're instead collecting the search pages on the page. So if I run a preview for this, you should see that we'll collect the search pages instead. But we don't actually want to collect the URLs for the search page because this is not the data we're interested in our data set. Instead, what we want to do is tell our crawler system to go crawl these pages also. So we have another command for this. If you look in the help, it's called next stage. Basically, you can say run another crawler and use this as the input instead. So instead of collect, I can say next stage URL page. And if I run this, you'll see that the data is not showing up in the output tab, but it will show up in the children tab instead. So this is one input to a new crawl. So if I say add this input to the next step, you'll see that this find pages step is the first one, and we've added this new second step, and we'll call this one search page. So find pages, or let's call it find products. So now we can modify this one in the extension also. And then let's tag the title and the price like Itamar did before. So let's do title and price. Let's try this one. So it's being a little bit fussy right now. It doesn't always get it perfect, but we can edit this ourselves if you like. This is part of the value in being able to modify the code. So if we run this now on one search page, preview, you'll see that we collected one list of titles and one list of prices. Oh, I see what's going wrong. I didn't grab the title correctly. Yep, now it grabbed everything right. Okay, so let's run another preview. I'll let that run in the background. So once we've collected the data that we want, we'll do something like for let product of items. And you can see the items field here is the items field that's listed here. And collect product. So you can see that there was an error when we tried to crawl this page. This happens every now and then. Websites are not always available. We're also using a fairly unblockable residential proxy network, which isn't 100% reliable. Well, not 100% available. So we can just do it again. When you're running this in production, our system will automatically handle retries, so you don't need to worry about this. So you can see that we crawled the title and the price, but you can see that the price is empty. And the reason the price is empty is because the selector that got defined here is not quite right. You can see this extra useless garbage. But again, the value in being able to modify the code is that we can just fix this ourselves. And then let's do another preview. And we should see all of the data pop up, including the prices. Okay, so at the end, what we have is we have two stages in this collector. The first stage discovers every page that we need to crawl, every search page. So if we look at number 1, you can see that it says page 1. And if you look at number 2, you can see that it says page 2, and it will discover up to page 10 in this case. And then for each of these pages, we're going to spawn another crawl, and it's going to grab the products on this page. So we're testing this now with page 1, as you can see, but I can copy this into a new input test, and I can do page 2. So in page 1, we saw that the first product was PlayStation 2 PS2. And if I run a preview on the next page, we should see that the first product is different. So now the first one is new listing, free overnight, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now I can click finish editing because this collector is basically finished for the version that we're creating now. You can input the URL of any search page, and then it will gather all of the products that are listed in all of the search pages.
Josh, maybe before we progress,
yep.
Let's try to do something a little bit more complex. Let's try to just search for buy it now.
Just search for buy it now, sure. So we go back to the edit template, and what we're trying to change is actually the find pages stage of this collector, because we don't want all listings, we want just buy it now listings. So if we review the steps of the collector, the first thing we do is define the country, and then we say navigate to the URL that we care about. And then we need this extra stage in the middle, which is click buy it now. So we can check the help box to see if there's anything available for that, and search for click, and we see that there's a click command, and click takes a selector. So let's copy this, and we'll replace this here, and we need to find what this selector is. So if you go into the Chrome DevTools, You can right click on, oh, let me just open that back up a little bit again. You can right click on the button and there's this inspect option that appears. And if we try to find a selector on this page that matches this button, we could say that it's one of these fake tab button classes. You see this here, class of fake tab item. And there's a bunch of them, one for each option. And in our case, we want to do the last one. So we can click on this here. We'll do click on fake tabs, and this dot means it's a class. But then we want to click on the last one, so we'll say last child. So now we're clicking on the last button here. So let's run a preview, and we'll see what it did. And if it was, and you can do some experimentation like this by checking the browser dev tools to see what you think it might be, and then run a preview to see if it worked. Once the preview is finished, you can actually check what happened after every stage to see if it's right. So in our case, you can see that it failed here, navigation timeout. Happens from time to time, so let's try again. So you can see that it worked. We have no output. And why is that? We also have no children. So if we click on this first line here, you can see that the preview says that we're on this page, and you can see that it looks correct. And then when we did the click command, you can see that the page goes blank. And I checked that by clicking on the line with the click in it. And the reason the page is blank is because when I actually go to do this in a browser, let's open this in a new, let's close this for a sec. When I actually click on this in a browser, I need to grab the URL. You'll see that the page goes blank while it loads new options. And then the new options appear. And the reason we're getting nothing right now is because as soon as we're finished clicking, the crawler will move on and run this next stage command, but we need to first wait for the data to appear back on the page before we move on. So we need to do, oopsie, one sec. We need to wait for data to appear. And if we check here and we search wait, we can see that we have two commands for wait. The first one is wait for an element to appear on the page, and it takes a selector like the click command. So let's try this one. We'll wait for a selector, and we need to find what the selector is. So if we go back to the page in the browser, we can say what here needs to exist before the page is valid. So we'll right click on one of these, and we'll say maybe like this item here needs to be there, or maybe this item. It needs to be there, or there's no data on the page. So we'll take this selector here of S item, and we'll click on that one. It's a class, so I add a period, and then let's run another preview. And again, you can experiment. If it doesn't turn out like you want, you can go back into the dev tools and you can try something else.
Josh, in the meantime, we have two questions from the audience. First is from Richard. He's asking, can we click by text of link, like anchor text?
Click by anchor text. Let me think what that means.
Richard, if you want, I can give you permission for your mic, so if it will be easier for you.
If I understand you correctly, what you want is to find a link on the page by the text inside the link and then click on that link, right?
Saying byte now is the text, yes, yes.
Right, okay. So right now, no. In the next few days, we're going to release, I'm not sure how familiar you are all with the library jQuery, but we're going to release a change to the interaction code, which will allow you to do something like this. Fake tabs Oops, let me just select this one. So it will allow you to do something like this. You can use this selector here to match all of the fake tabs buttons on the page, all the fake tabs. And then you can use filter text to say buy it now. And this will reduce the list of everything we selected to only the ones that include this text. And then you can do click. And then this will do the click by the text, like you said. So the short answer is right now, no, but very soon, yes.
Great, thanks, Josh. And the second question that we have from the audience is, can we put a timeout on wait for a selector?
Yes, you can. And it's quite simple. You just say timeout, let's say 1000 milliseconds.
Great.
And you can see that here as an option if you open up the help text. Oh, no, it's not listed. I will add that.
Great, I'm writing it to myself. Thanks. So,
there's another question about the programming languages, like Mustafa is asking which programming language is needed.
The language that we support in this machine is JavaScript.
Great. So I guess that we answer all of the questions. So please, Josh.
Okay. So just to review, the problem was that we navigate to the URL and then we click on this Buy It Now button and the page goes blank and we need to wait for the data to appear before we move on. We added this wait command. So if I click on the wait command, you can see that now the data exists and the Buy It Now button is selected. So the data wasn't there and then the data appears. And now the Children tab has all of these pages, but all of these pages, if you check, they're now saying, oh, I guess it's not shown in the URL, but they're now search pages for these Buy It Now products. So basically with these two commands, we've modified the collector to only do Buy It Now options. Did we want to do anything else before we went back to the test? Itamar?
Sorry, no, it's okay, thanks.
Okay, great. So let's finish editing. And you'll notice that whenever you finish editing, we'll actually run a preview of it to make sure that the browser or the code that you defined for this collector is still valid and will actually collect your data. So we have this test collector and we can run it like this, but you'll notice that this URL is kind of awkward to work with. So we can change the collector to, instead of starting from a URL, like let's say that we want to start from the text PlayStation, because it's much simpler to make an automated system where you don't have to first go find the URL and then collect your data. Why not just start from the text that you want and make the collector handle it end to end? So let's go back into the code editor.
This is the second collector that they showed in the extension, the collector that we call the search collector type.
Yes, this is similar functionality to the search collector, but in this case, you're defining the behavior yourself and you can customize it to exactly what you need. So before we look at how we write the code for it, let's look at how you would do it in a browser. How does a real human go to find something on eBay.com? They open up a new tab, they click ebay.com, or they type ebay.com. So, oops. Let's list the steps here in the code. So step 1, go to ebay.com. And we have this listed here. This is step 1. And we'll say, instead of listing input.url, we'll just hard code https ebay.com. So this is step 1. Step 2, you type in this bar, PlayStation. So step 2 is you type in the search bar. Step 3 is that you click on search. And then step 4 is that you collect the data like before. You can also do the buy it now if you like, but we'll skip that for this step or for this demo. So step 3, step 2, type in search, and then step 3, click on search. So we already have step 1 listed here where we navigate to ebay.com. Step 2 is that we need to type in the search bar. And if we open up the help, we can say type, and we have a type command, which takes a selector and some text. So type something, and then the text should be your input. So let's first find the something we should click on. If I go into the browser and I right click and I click inspect, you can see that this input here has an ID of GHAC. So let's use that as the selector. We use the hash symbol because that's the ID selector. And then this your input thing, you can write it like here, but then this collector can only collect the word PlayStation, which is not so useful for you. So what we can do is we can go change this URL field. Instead of passing an input URL, we can pass an input search term. So we can do search and save it like this, and we'll change this to PlayStation. So now instead of input.url, we do input.search. So this is step 2. And then the third is to click on the search. So we'll add a click command, which we've used before, and we need to click on something. So in the browser DevTools, we go to the inspect element, and this button here has an input or has an ID of GB or GH button. So let's do that one. Oopsie. Okay, so this is stage 3. And let's run a preview to see how it worked. And I'll remove this this buy it now specification. So let's do a preview. And let's walk through it stage by stage. So stage 1 is that we click or that we navigate to ebay.com. And you can see from the screenshot that it's correct. Step 2 is that we type in the search bar. And if you click on the screenshot, you can see that this is also correct. We typed PlayStation in the search bar. Step 3 is that we click on the search button. And it doesn't look like anything has happened yet because the browser is still navigating, but you can see that the button is highlighted if I scroll over a little bit. So we did click on it. So like we did with the buy it now, the problem is that we now need to wait for the data to appear on the page. So we'll go back here, find one of these items. We'll say it's an S item. Wait for an S item to appear, which means that there was a step 4 we were missing. Step 4, wait for the data. So now let's run a preview again. So the workflow here is pretty simple. You just write some code, see if it check if it's the right sort of thing in the browser, run preview, see if you get the data that you expect, and if you don't, then change the code and run another preview. So in our case, we did a click, and you can see the button is highlighted. And if we wait for the data, then you can see that the data is there. And if we check the children, then you can see that we now have a bunch of search terms, including the word PlayStation. So we don't have to input a URL. Now we can just input a search term. And I think that this collector is now good to go. So let's click Finish Editing. And once you've defined something in the IDE here, the collector should be good to go in production as well. So now you have this API endpoint you can use. You can deliver
Josh,
to
can you enlarge the screen, please? And then
yes, sure.
Thanks.
So now you have this API that you can use to trigger the collector automatically. You can define a schedule to get it to run regularly if you like. You can wire up the output to it into any of your automated systems. It's pretty much good to go at this point. So let's run a test and we'll do Xbox. So you can see now that the search input appears and not the URL, which is much simpler. So let's run collect. So what's happening in the background now is that the first thing we're doing is we're loading just the first page that we defined, which just discovers the other 10 pages that we need to collect. And this happened, oh, something went wrong. Let's try it again. As soon as the first search page is collected, it will discover 10 more pages that need to be collected. And because we now have 10 pages, we can crawl them in parallel. So the final result, like the final production crawler, can run much faster than these like smaller tests because we're limited by how many things we can do at one time in these small tests. But if you're crawling thousands of pages, then we can crawl like possibly hundreds or thousands of pages in parallel. So the system scales to a production volume very nicely.
In the meantime, someone have like a question or want to ask something? Anyone? Okay, I got a question from the audience, how the errors are being handled.
So in the preview, we just show you what the error was. We don't do any attempt to hide the problems because oftentimes when an error occurs, it's something that you can handle in the code to make it smoother. In production, we have a retry mechanism. So if something fails, then if we think that we have a chance of getting it, if we try it again, then we'll try it again. Sometimes either due to badly written collector code or missing pages or whatever. Sometimes the pages really can't be crawled. And after we've tried and we're sure that we can't get it, then we'll show you the error in your final data set so that the line will have an error field and you will be able to click on it. Actually, I can show you. So let's say this one's going wrong. So let's go back to the collection list and we see this eBay collector. If we click on statistics, you can see that it's not even showing, very strange. Let's try here. Trying to find one that shows an error. Actually, let's do an error intentionally. Let's go to the template and we'll just say, you know, throw new error. Failed. Actually, I'm not going to be able to save this because it's, let's try. So half the time it will throw an error and half the time it will collect nothing. Or let's say return collect success, true. So half the time it will error and half the time it will just say success. So this one failed, failed. And this one should work. So the short answer to your question is that we give you the tools to see the errors when they appear and then debug the errors in this IDE so that you can fix what's wrong with the collector and go back to getting a high success rate.
Thanks, Josh. We have two more questions from the audience. One question is, what about CAPTCHAs?
So CAPTCHAs are, it depends on the nature of the CAPTCHA. Mostly our system tries to avoid CAPTCHAs. Normally we treat it like a sign that we didn't do a good enough job building a good crawler. So this is something that's constantly changing in the industry, and this is actually one of the points of value that we provide. We are very focused on making sure that our system is actually able to get you the data that you want. So if we're seeing new types of CAPTCHAs or new types of bot detection appear, then we will update our automated browsers so that they don't get detected and they don't get captured. So if it's a case where you're writing your own crawler system and you're frequently getting CAPTCHAs, it's probably because the site is actually detecting that you're not a real user and they're showing you a CAPTCHA because they want you to prove you're human. Our goal is basically to avoid that completely and make sure that you don't get the CAPTCHA in the first place.
And Anon, if you want to learn more about it, we can do one-on-one, we can help you with that. The second question is about, do we have any control over the name of the file that we are delivered by the collector?
Yes, I'm just looking at it now. I don't think we have a UI wired up for it, actually. Well, sort of. So you can specify the folder, if you do SFTP, Google Cloud Storage, and S3, you can say where it's delivered to. Right now, we will generate a file name for you. And like in the case of Amazon and Google Cloud Storage, we will tag the file by the collection ID so that you can match it to the collection that you triggered. If it's
Josh, we are today releasing the new version of output controller. So I guess that we can show it there in 1 day or 2 days. So it will be there.
I'm not sure that this. I don't think that this solves the file name problem. It solves the problem of renaming columns.
Yeah, but we have also the option to. We have also the option to download the file there. So maybe we can also add the option to change the name. So it's not supposed to be that difficult to do.
Okay, so the short answer is that we might not support it today, but it's really it's not hard for us to support. And if you need it, talk to us and we'll add it.
Yeah. No more questions from the audience.
That's everything.
Yeah, thank you. And we are running out of time. So.
Okay, I'll go back to the presentation. 1 sec. So we did the demo. So just to briefly summarize, the goal is that this data collector online editor is a fast and easy way to quickly define what can become a really scalable production solution for you. It should save your engineering or your dev teams a lot of effort. They don't have to build all the infrastructure around a crawler. They just have to say what it does, and then we handle the scaling and we handle the operations. We're maintaining our browsers to make sure that they don't get detected. And as new bot detection techniques appear in the industry, then we also develop new techniques to avoid them. Because we do a lot of work around making our crawlers fingerprint proof and undetectable, we also have highly accurate data. And you can also define in your collector what accurate or what valid data looks like. So when you're collecting, you can say that if it doesn't have a price, let's say, then it's not really a valid product, and we'll actually reject this from the final data set, and we'll try recrawling to see if we can get a better version of it. And finally, we're the most ethical company in this space. All of the peers that are part of our residential network are opt-in, which means that they chose to be a part of this system instead of being kind of coerced or unwillingly added. We also only collect public available data. So we're not trying to hack any target sites. If it's available on the internet, then we believe that you should be able to read it. And as a further extension of this, we're also trying to be respectful of all of the target websites. So we maintain rate limits and make sure that our crawlers are not hitting the target sites harder than they have the ability to respond to. Oops, back up.
Great, thank you, Josh. I encourage you to build your own custom data collector right after this webinar. For all of the attendees of the webinar, we offer 1 week trial and hands-on support from Josh. So just follow the link that you're seeing here on screen, and you can start your own 7-day free trial. So Anna, please just send the link in the chat, and we have like 5 more minutes for questions. So I'm seeing another question from the audience on production. How we say that, I'm trying to read it, sorry. On production, how do we say what type of peers to use? Data center, residential, etc. What kind of peers? Okay. So the quick answer, Josh, you can take it like in more in depth, but the quick answer will be that you will not need to use or to choose what kind of what type of network you want to use, because we will do it in the background for you, meaning that you will only need to develop the collector, and we will choose the right network for you.
The deeper answer is, we want to give you flexibility, and we want you to have the product behave the way that you want it to. If you want to define your peers for some reason, then talk to us and we'll find out what the reason behind it is. But the short answer is that you shouldn't have to. You should just say what it does, and the rest is our problem.
Great, and this is like Richard is asking another question that's super important. That is asking because the pricing of our networks is vary between residential and data center. So the pricing for the data collector, we'll not speak about the specific number now because everything will be in the website soon. But the way that we are pricing it is by something called page load. So Josh, if you can, please go to Luminati.io and to the pricing page. Thanks. So there is a short movie there on the bottom. Yeah, great, thanks. So it's explaining really short about what is a page load and how we are calculating everything. So let's say that you're using a social media platform. Josh, if you can just click play and go to the end. So what will happen is that not really to the end, sorry. Yeah, here, great. So you will see that, for example, if you're clicking on a specific profile, searching for a specific profile, you will get a number of posts. Now, when you are scrolling down, there will be another page load because we are communicating with the website and then getting more. Each 1,000 page load will cost you something. This is like a CPM mode. So the something is really depend on how many load you are willing to do in 1 month. So if you want to learn more about it, just reach out your account manager and let's learn about how many page load or what is the specific plan that is relevant to you, and then it will work. And it will work for any kind of collector. The only exclusion here is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is something a little bit different. Do we have another? I'm seeing another question. Do you maintain a list of rate limit for websites so we know how many pages we should expect in a day?
The rate limiting system that we do is a little bit, it's a little bit dynamic. There's some components of it that are based on our estimates of how much traffic the site can support, and some estimates of, and some of it is based on how well this site is doing handling the load that we're giving them at the moment. So the short answer is that we don't have a way for you to view what it is right now. The long answer is that if you're trying to run something and it's not working as fast as you need it to, then please reach out to us. We'll take a look and we'll find out why. And it's possible that we can find some solution to make it better for you.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you for all of the questions. If you don't have any other questions, let's go to the next slide. No,
just a quick follow-up on the rate limit. Unless you're handling really, really high volumes, I don't think that it's something you need to worry about. For the most part, if you're doing like a reasonable search amount, then it's probably fine.
Great, thanks. Josh, can you please go to the next slide?
Yeah, sure.
So if you want to stay in touch with us, you can find us all in all of the social media that we are now presenting, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Reddit. And of course, if you want to reach me and Josh, you can find us in LinkedIn or in any other platform, and please feel free to do so. Josh, the last one, sorry. I guess that's all. So thank you all for attending this webinar. Hope that you learned a new thing about data collection. And again, we'll still be here for the next few minutes. So if any one of you will have more questions, we are here in the next 10 minutes. So we have another question for the audience. Google business listing, how to handle? Josh?
It's a bit of an open-ended question. I know Google is a sophisticated company. I'll do my best to answer this question based on what I assume you're asking. Google's a sophisticated company.
By the way, Josh, sorry, Richard, if you want to have a microphone permission, so you can just raise your hand and we'll give you permission to speak.
Yeah, maybe you can expand on the question a little more. It's a little hard to answer in its current form.
Anna, can you give him permission, please?
I already did.
Yeah, great, thanks. Richard, you want to expand a little bit?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, so I'm just curious about that just because it's Google, and I did my own scraping before just at our listings, and they have like, IP detection, that kind of thing. I was just wondering if that's, you were saying something along the lines you get around, or you look at performing the web crawler in a certain way so it doesn't go up against those mechanisms. I don't know if you have something for that for Google or.
So most of the techniques that we employ are not site specific. So Google has a lot of bot detection systems, but so do a number of other sites. And part of the value of our platform is that we try to solve like bot detection is a general problem. So if Google is detecting our crawlers, it means that we're doing something wrong. And if we're doing something wrong, then we want to fix it and we want to make sure that it actually works. So the short answer is that we want to be able to support Google business listings and whatever and any other site that you care to crawl, as long as it's publicly available data.
And also, I guess it's important to say that we have another product called Serve that may be more relevant to this use case.
Yeah, we do have some specialized products which might help you in this case.
So feel free to reach us and we'll help you create your own custom collector for this, or your own the product that is maybe more relevant to you in this case. Thank you, Richard. Great, so I guess that if there are no more questions, so again, thank you all for attending the webinar, and I hope that we answer all of your questions. See you in the next one.
All right, great, thanks guys.
Thank you very much.